Hey, I hope you're having an amazing day today. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 tips that I have learned in my experience when owning a dog that has hip dysplasia. So let's get straight into the video. But before I get into the tips, I just want to sympathize with you guys. If you just found out that your dog has hip dysplasia or any type of injury or disease, or anything like that similar, I just want to let you guys know that it is going to be okay. There are a ton of success stories of dogs that live happy lives with hip dysplasia, and the best thing to do, obviously easier said than done, is to not worry and focus on what you can do day to day to make sure that, again, your dog lives a happy life. When I got the news that Jackson was diagnosed with hip dysplasia just at 11 months, I was very heartbroken. I just thought the world was gonna end, that everything just obviously sucks, and that Jackson would not be happy and he'd be hurting all the time. But as you guys can see from my past videos, Jackson is living a happy and a loving life, and that is really, I can attest to these next 10 tips, and just being cautious, being wary, and being focused on how you can really treat and give your dog the best life with hip dysplasia. But just to reiterate again, it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. You guys are gonna have the best time of your guys' lives together despite this hip dysplasia. So without further ado, let's get straight into the tips. So the first tip that I've learned is to really limit strenuous activity. You don't want to over-exercise your dog for obvious reasons. You don't want to aggravate the hips, the joints, the sockets. So again, you want to be very cautious when playing with your dog, whether it's fetch, whether it is maybe at the dog park, running with other dogs, or even just jogging daily. You want to make sure that you limit and watch your dog's body over the course of these activities. Though it is very imperative that your dog gets a balanced exercise routine or schedule, but again, not too much that it really aggravates the joint and socket. Try to focus on low impact exercises such as just slow, long walks, or even swimming. Swimming is a great exercise to not only build hind leg muscles, but also just great exercise for your dog. Number two, you want to make sure that your dog is lean and stays lean. If your dog is overweight, it puts an added pressure and weight onto that joint and socket, those hips, and that can be really bad for your dog, obviously with hip dysplasia. If your dog is a gobbler and just eats whatever, just make sure that you watch and limit how much food intake, because again, the best way to really treat hip dysplasia is by keeping your dog fit and also lean. Number three, make sure that your dog's body is warm. So for me and Jackson, we live in the Midwest, and one of the good or bad things arguably about the Midwest is that we have seasons, and with that, the winter. As winter comes in, I make sure to get Jackson a nice coat and that his fur is growing out a little bit more, just so that his body stays warm and those joints are warm and not stiff. Sometimes it might be stiff in the morning, and that can really irritate him, but again, for the most part, you want to make sure that your dog's body is warm and not cold. This can definitely reduce arthritis pain in the winter months. Number four, avoid the stairs and elevated places. So every time your dog uses the stairs or even jumps up to high places, it can really hurt and aggravate those joints, the ball and socket on your dog's body. They might not show pain right now if your dog is very young and has hip dysplasia, but in the long term, it really adds to the effect, and towards the end of your dog's years, as sad as it is for me to talk about, it could really hurt them and cause them more pain towards the end of their years. So it might be a great idea to maybe get some stairs next to your bed, or again, if you are using stairs or have stairs in your house, block it off, or maybe every time you need to go upstairs, carry your dog up. A little side note, if you have enough money in your budget, maybe investing in a ramp might be a great idea too. Number five, slip-proof your house/apartment. If you have wooden floors or anything but a rug or a carpet, if they slip, it could really hurt their joints, that ball and socket again. So make sure that if they are running around the house, they have the zoomies or whatever it may be, you want to lessen and prevent any type of injuries to the hip as much as possible. And on top of that, investing in a nice orthopedic bed might help too, and really soothing the hip and joint pain. Number six, consider natural remedies outside of the vet. I talked about this a little bit on the first tip, but hydrotherapy/swimming is a great way to build hind leg muscles and ultimately combat hip dysplasia. Consider hydrotherapy, physical therapy, including stretching, and even some holistic approaches, such as acupuncture and acupressure. These could really help making the mobility a lot easier. Number 7, use supplements. So when Jackson was diagnosed at 11 months of age, I took the time to research and talk to my vet, and they suggested that I put him on glucosamine, which is a supplement that really helps with the hips and joints. So Jackson has been using that daily, once a month, and it's not too expensive. Maybe it is a few $20 to $30. I think maybe even $40 for the premium brand a month for these supplements. But ever since I put him on it, he's been a lot more mobile, a lot easier to walk. And again, before, when Jackson was diagnosed, he would be limping, especially in the cold months, just waking up from his bed. He would limp a little bit before getting all warm, but by putting him on glucosamine, it really helped in helping him stop limping. Another supplement that I like to use is fish oil. It is great in omega-3s, and omega-3s are a great supplement for hip and joints. So that is another thing that you might want to invest in. It is just a nice little oil that I put on top of his food. He loves it, and again, it is great for his body. Tip number 8 is just having a balanced diet and also catering it towards hip and joint. So I know there are specific foods out there that really are catered to build and focus on hip dysplasia or hip and joints. So you might want to look into those types of foods. But for now, Jackson and I have been using what has worked ever since, which is just Purina Pro Plan, and then just adding hip and joint specific supplements to that diet. But you want to make sure that your dog gets a good amount of protein, again, omega-3s, even glucosamine in that diet. Number 9, I talked about this a little bit before, but it is very imperative that you do this, and that is to build their muscles. By building their muscles, especially their hind leg muscles, it will really help lessen the pressure and the weight on those hips by using obviously those muscles. And again, in the long term, it could really help in lessening the pain when your dog ages. There is a past video on my channel about 5 at-home exercises that you could do to help build your hind leg muscles. So if you like, check that out. It is really helpful, and I do that with Jackson every so often. And lastly, I'm sure you guys talked about this if your dog has hip dysplasia with your vet, and that is surgery. So with Jackson, he has not had surgery yet. I don't know if he will get surgery. Maybe he will later down the line, but right now we are just doing the home exercises and the supplements. He's been very happy. He's been loving life. There hasn't been any setbacks as a result of his hip dysplasia. To be honest, one of the things that I'm very wary of is just the price of surgery. The surgeons around my area, though they are very good, they cost up to like 10 to 12K for the surgery, and that is just a lot of money I personally do not have right now. So in the meantime, before I do go through with the surgery, I'm going to save up money and also just reinforce everything, be cautious, focus on supplements, focus on what I can do at home to make sure and prevent any pain in the future. But yeah, guys, that concludes today's video. Let me know down below what you guys are doing, if there's anything different in helping your dogs with hip dysplasia. I would love to learn more what you guys are doing too. As a reminder, please hit that like button as it really helps in the YouTube algorithm. And if you're new here, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button too, as it really means a lot to Jackson and me. Also, if you haven't joined our Aussie Doodle lovers / owners Facebook group, the link is in the description. You do not have to own an Aussie Doodle to join. So if you'd like, join and be a part of a great and growing community. Tell your dogs you love them. Jackson, I love you. It's okay. It's okay, Jackson. Thank you for watching and have an amazing day. Yay. You're getting fluffy again, Jackson.